In the last couple weeks since the launch of Garden Warfare 2, you've probably heard a lot about the rose and some other plants, but there's been a growing lack of enthusiasm for a certain little staticky citrus variant, the Electro Citron. Now, those of you who enjoy playing as the Electro Citron may think this character is pretty amazing and doesn't need to be changed, but a quick Reddit search will show that a lot of players seem to think otherwise. So for this rare character showcase, we're going to take a closer look at the Electro Citron's capabilities and discuss whether or not this variant needs some enhancement. Electro Citron is of course the electric variant for the Citron class, and so he is a deep shade of electric blue, making him stylish yet relatively easy to spot on the battlefield. The Electro Citron has a unique primary weapon called the Electro Charger, which has a couple different firing modes. You can either pulse the trigger to do single fire shots, or you can hold down the trigger to charge the weapon for either a half or a full charge. Now, what makes the Electro Citron's charge shots a bit different from the other charge variants is the fact that each charge shot takes up a bulk amount of ammo. So, a partially charged shot will require about a quarter of the available ammo, while a full charge shot will require half. Now, when you think about the other charge variants like Mystic Flower, Future Cactus, or Plasma Pea, they only use up one bullet per charge shot, meaning that however much ammo you have is the amount of charge shots you get. But with the Electro Citron, you can only do 2 fully charged shots before having to reload with a full magazine of ammo, which is one of the reasons that people really don't prefer this character. Another reason has to do with Electro Citron's overall damage output. Now, Electro Citron's damage is going to vary widely depending on the distance you are from the target, the types of charge shots you use, and the critical hit potential. So, Electro Citron's single fire damage, for example, ranges between about 2 and 5, depending on the distance you are and whether or not a critical hit occurs. But like the other electric variants, his critical shots are also capable of chaining between multiple zombies, sometimes dealing up to 10 damage through criticals on the linked opponent rather than the target themselves. Now, the fully charged shots can deal anywhere between 40 and 83 damage depending on the distance from the target, which is pretty good considering Future Cactus can deal about 100 damage in a single charged shot. However, when you read about this character on Reddit or on the forums, it seems that the general consensus is that the Electro Citron doesn't deal enough damage, and that this variant is in dire need of a damage buff. A lot of players feel that Electro Citron just doesn't feel as satisfying as other characters, like Electro Brains for example, to which I'm inclined to agree. Since Electro Citron's charge weapon is semi-automatic, you have to be very accurate in order to not only land the shot on a target, but time it well enough to have it chain between nearby zombies and trigger the electric criticals. On the other hand, a character like Electro Brains can just use his electric beam to blast away at plants from a distance and effectively take out a whole group of plants without having to release the trigger or even aim at more than a single target in some cases. The Electro Citron can be used at a decent range, but since Electro Citron's single fire damage is pretty weak and his charge shots take a second or two to charge up and even longer to reload, this variant is at a huge disadvantage in close quarters combat. Overall, I do think Electro Citron would benefit greatly from a damage boost at least to his basic attack, going from 2 damage to something more like 4, 5, 6 damage for just the basic shots, since those are really ineffective, especially at a long range. I think that would really help. Also, maybe a tweak to his ammo consumption as well, and I think it would really help to put splash damage on Electro Citron. And if this character has splash damage, I can't really seem to tell because it doesn't feel like he has splash damage at all. So I think if he had splash damage similar to how the electrician works, it would help trigger that electric chain effect more often, which is so crucial to using this character and making him effective. But because this is a charge character and doesn't have like an electro beam like how Electro Brains does, it's a lot harder to trigger that electric chain effect. So I think splash damage would really help alleviate some of those problems. And I think some of these changes would really help make this character feel a lot more viable and a lot more fun to play, but we'll have to just wait and see how the developers handle this variant. There's no doubt that Electro Citron has a bit of a learning curve and takes some getting used to, but in the meantime maybe we should just modify our playstyles to make the most out of this variant. When you play as Electro Citron, try to fire at groups of zombies to trigger the electric chain effect as well as those critical hits. Also keep in mind that you can still do partial or fully charged shots even after using a few rounds. Stick to a combination of partially charged shots intermixed with quick bursts to make the most of your ammunition before reloading, and save your full charged shots for injured zombies who you know you can take out with a single powerful blast. Alright you guys, do you think Electro Citron needs a buff, or is this variant fine the way it is? Let me know by voting in the poll on the card annotation on the screen, and leave me a comment down below on which variant you'd like me to discuss next. As always, thank you so much for watching, stay strange my loves, and until next video, this is Strangelove signing out.